We are on some so far.
Hi, Shavua Tov. Shavua Tov.
Okay, Shavua Tov to you. We had it on mute.
Hi, Bernie, Temi, Mario. I don't see anybody else.
Nobody else on?
Oh, here they are. Sydney, Ellen.
Shavua Tov, everybody.
Wait, Ernest. Hi, Shavua Tov. Hi, hi, Sydney. Hi,
It's
Ellen.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, God.
Ellen, you make your own liqueur?
Oh, no.
That's awesome.
Yeah, actually, we planted seeds from esrog, and we now have 2 esrog trees. So I actually, some of the liqueur I made from my own esrog.
Amazing.
Did you try it?
Yes, it smells so good. Yum. I can't wait.
It does, yeah,
Very
yeah.
impressive. Very impressive.
I'm glad. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hope everybody,
Wait till it. there's
hope
more.
everybody had a nice Purim.
Yes.
We have Levaya at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I don't know how to watch it.
Who?
Rabbi Kanievsky.
Koyeski, he gave a whole hesped today, Rabbi
Why
Siegelman.
not?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't official hesped, but it was like a hesped.
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
So hot off the press, Ernie's book just came out. It's called Kahal Hashem. It's on urology and halacha. He wrote it with Rabbi Lebhar, who's the Rosh Kollel of the Sephardic community in
Of
Los
Link,
Angeles,
of
of
Link.
Link.
Wow.
So it just came out.
Congratulations. It's quite
Wow,
It's an
beautiful.
accomplishment.
Chazak.
Thank you.
Chazak. Beautiful.
Ernie, didn't you study with someone in Israel when you went there to discuss with one of the?
We went around, we got
Haskamas.
haskamas from all the Gedolim and they also, we have 10 questions that we discussed, but that we posed to the Gedolim, like Rav Asher Weiss, Rav Yitzchak
Wow.
Zilberstein, and Rav Shmuel Klein, and they responded, and they're
in the
public,
book
they're in the
also.
book too. So it's
Interactive.
Wonderful
accomplishment.
accomplishment.
Shkoyach.
yeah.
Wow.
Fantastic. So
Beautiful.
what,
Meretz Hashem, when they arrive, we'll distribute it to all everyone who's interested.
we'll
got
buy them
wonderful-
if we have to, Ernie, we'll buy them.
English or Hebrew?
It's got a lot of urologic drawings and, great
No
things. It hasn't really been a
patience.
paper like this.
Ernie, no patience drawings, right?
No patient drawings.
Not afterwards.
Shavua Tov, everybody.
Shavua Tov.
Tov.
Shavua Tov. We left off on Shmuel Beis, Perik Beis, Pasuk Ches, that the Shevet Yehuda has anointed David HaMelech as their king. He's going to rule in Yehuda for 7 years. We'll see. Eventually, he'll be anointed. He'll take Melucha over all the rest of Eretz Yisrael. after 7 years. So he'll rule for
last
40
one.
years. But now, Pasuk Ches, the Avner ben Ner, Sar Tzava Asher Shaul. Avner was the general for Shaul, who he survived the battle. Lakach et Ishboshet ben Shaul vayavireu machanayim. One of the sons of Shaul was Ishboshet, and Machanayim was the city that Yaakov Avinu, when he comes back from Lavan, approaches. It's on Evra Yarden, and that was the place where the Machanev Malachim that was escorting Yaakov in Chutz La'aretz. There are now a new group of Malachim when he comes into Eretz Yisrael. That's why it's called Machanoi, multiple camps. But the Radak on the son Ishboshet comments, "Hu esh ba'al hanizkar b'divrei Yomi." We've never been told about Ishboshet yet. We were given the names of Shaul's other sons, Yehonasan, Malkishua, the ones that died with him in the battle with Plishtim. But we've never been, later on in Divrei Yomim, Ishboshet is Eshbal. Baal uboshes echadu. Baal, of course, is the name of an idol. So rather than call him Ishbal, we call him Ishboshet.
I think he needs to mute.
Somebody needs to mute.
I mean, you can mute Bernie.
Tammy, you have to mute.
Mute.
Thank you, Temi. Temi,
Yeah, hold on, Bernie.
can you mute?
Mario, can you mute her, Mario? Oh,
How do you mute this?
Right here.
Okay, so his name was Ishboshet because it was an embarrassment that his name was Baal. Like we had by Yerubal, by Gidon, right? The Chenikra Gidon Yerubal. So most of the Meforshim say Ishboshet wasn't mentioned before because he was not present with the other sons that died. Now, Avner wants to place Ishboshet as the king over Binyamin and the rest of Israel. And the people on the Gilad, the people on the Evra Yarden were very favorable to Shaul. Remember, the people from Yavesh Gilad were the ones who saved his body. So that's why Avner wants to put him there. Now, Avner knows that David was Nimshach Lamelech. So there is a chazal. Let me have the chazal here. Let me see this. Well, Rashi brings it. Mikra hayadoyresh, she'atidin shnei melachim lamu b'Binyamin. Avner darshan the pasuk that when Yaakov Avinu is about to come into Eretz Yisrael, after staying with Lavan, Binyamin has not been born yet. And Yaakov is given a besora, umlachim echalatzecha yetzeu. Ukvar noldu kolbonov chutz mi Binyamin. It's from Bereishis Rabbah. The word melachim, kings, plural, will arise from your loins. Well, the only person that's still going to be born is Binyamin. So Avner learned pshat that there's going to be two kings from Binyamin before David HaMelech rules. So Shaul is the first, and Ishboshet is the second. So that is why Avner is taking the trouble to be Mamlech Ishboshet. We also had learned previously that if Shaul had not sinned, Shaul's and his family would have some kind of chelek in Malchus Yisrael. Maybe he would be the king over his shevet, on Binyamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh, which are the children of Rachel. Like Yehuda and Ephraim are two different nations. The Ramban talks about this concept in Sefer Bereshis. So Avner was in his rights to think that he wants to cause Ishbosheth to serve as king. Pasuk test. Gilad. So he installed him as king in Gilad, which is the area of Manasseh and Evra Yarden. Vel Ashuri, Vel Yisrael, Vel Ephraim, Vel Binyamin, Vel Yisrael Kula. So Ishbosheth is placed as king over the rest of Klal Yisrael, except for Shevet Yehuda. Pasuk Yud. Ben Arba'im Shana Ishbosheth ben Shaul b'mlachol Yisrael. Ishbosheth is 40 years old. Ushayim Shana Malach. He rules for 2 years. Ach Beit Yehuda Yoachrei David. Now, of course, Yehuda was with David. Now,
Would this have been a precedent for when they split up the Melucha between Yehuda and the rest of Yisrael?
but then Ellen, then Binyamin is going to be with Yehuda. That's going to be that's going to be when Yeravam ben Nevat, after Shlomo passes away and Rechavam, his son, takes over as king. So then we're going to see there's a break at that time and for special reasons. And the 10 tribes go with Yeravam, and Yehuda and Binyamin stay with Rechavam. So
I'm just saying, is it like a template that the idea that it's okay to break up the Melucha between, besides Shevet Yehuda?
it was not right. It's not a template, and it's not a good thing. This happened in stages. First Shaul HaMelech, then we're going to see there's this 7-year period where David is not king yet over all of Klal Yisrael. And the question is, what do you mean Ishbosheth only ruled for 2 years? There's a 7-year gap that has to be accounted for. Because the next pasuk, Vahi mispar yamim, asher haya David melech bechevron al Beit Yehuda sheva shanim v'shisha chadashim. So, did Ishbosheth rule immediately after Shaul's death for 2 years? And then we're going to see there was a civil war. And Ishbosheth slowly lost the rule, and David HaMelech took over the rule over the next 5 years. Or maybe he ruled only the last 2 years of the 7.
We don't count Ishbosheth as a melech following Shaul. He's like ignored in that respect.
He's not ignored. He's a king he's going to be king of Yisrael. We just read the pasuk. He ruled b'malchal Yisrael shtaim shana malach ach beis Yudah yachrei David. He did not rule Shevet Yehuda, but he ruled the rest of Yisrael.
When we were kids and they had those big.
Ishbosheth was there. Ishbosheth was there.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
And it said too, Ishbosheth was there.
Okay.
The only question is, where does he fit in? And there's a major machlokas, which we'll go through a little bit regarding that. Where does he fit in? Where do these 2 years fit in? So there's a number of ways to go. So the Ralbag, here. V'neim lo malach kim shtei shanim yechuyav echad mishlosha dvarim, says the Ralbag. If you only ruled for 2 years, then there are 3 possibilities. Im sheyamtin Avner lamlicha achrei mot Shaul chamesh shanim v'chetzi. Maybe Avner waited 5 years before he anointed him as king. Ki kfar malach David bechevron al shevet Yehuda levado sheva shanim v'chetzi. We know that David began as melech immediately and ruled for 7 years. V'zera says the Ralbag zerachok ma'od be'enai to say that. Ki kvar huchrach Avner lamlichu tekaf mitat Shaul kidei shliach zik David b'chol mamlechas Yisrael. It made sense strategically, says the Ralbag, for Avner to put him up as king immediately. Otherwise, David would strengthen his connection to the rest of Klal Yisrael. So that's one possibility that he rejects. That maybe Avner didn't put him in king. He waited 5 years, and Ishbosheth only ruled the last 2 years. So he rejects that. V'hanyana shenihu, she'amtinu Yisrael amlichet David aleim 5 shanim v'chetzi achrei mot Ishbosheth. Maybe Klal Yisrael waited 5 years and a half after Ishbosheth died. וזה גם כן רחוק מאוד. אם שכבר מצאנו גם כן שכבר נתרצו כל ישראל להמליך את דוד עליהם, גם בחיי Ishbosheth. Even while Ishbosheth was alive, we're going to see a lot of Klal Yisrael was already going to David. So ולזה לא ייתכן שימתינו להמליך אחרי מות Ishbosheth. They wouldn't wait that long after the death of Ishbosheth. והעניין השלישי הוא, שיהיה קצת זה הזמן בין מיתת שאול ובין מלכות Ishbosheth. There was a little bit of time between the death of Shaul and when Ishbosheth was declared king. And there would be some time after Ishbosheth's death and when the rest of Israel chose David. The Ralbag rejects this. So what does he say? That means, according to the Ralbag, after the death of Shaul, Ishbosheth was appointed king right away. Then we're going to see later on in this parak a civil war beginning between Avner and Yoav. That happened after the 2 years. To tell us that for 2 years, right after Shaul's death, Ishbosheth ruled in peace over Klal Yisrael. And David ruled in peace in Hebron over Yehuda. After 2 years, there became a beginning of a civil war. Immediately, it was not milchama. There was just a little bit of battle between Avner and Yoav, but then it's going to grow because David initially was not favorable to chase after Shaul and his people. And remember, David already took a shvua that he wasn't going to chase after Shaul and his people. But that's going to change. That's going to change as things change.
Is there any Navi that is, like that you could go to, like you went to the Urim V'Tumim? Like nobody seems to have asked.
Avner, that's right. Avner decided based on his understanding of the pasuk, that based on that drasha, that there has to be 2 kings from Binyamin before David. That was enough for him. And that basically, the Ralbag covers the. By the way, the Abarbanel says that the Ishbosheth ruled for 7 years on the same number of time that David ruled over Hebron, because he was chosen right away after the death of Shaul. But it's only the first 2 years that the Malchus was Shlema, because Avner was strong with him. We're going to see later on Avner went against Ishbosheth. So that's how the Abarbanel learns. Pasuk Yud Beis. Let me see if there's anything else I want to say. No. Pasuk Yud Beis. Vayetze Avner ben Ner, v'avdei Ishbosheth ben Shaul machanaim Givona. Avner ben Ner and the other soldiers of Ishbosheth, they traveled to Givon. He wanted to strengthen the Malchus Ishbosheth. He said he saw that Ishbosheth's control was weak. Now, the next pasuk is going to introduce us to Yoav, who is David HaMelech's general. And once Yoav sees Avner going out to enlarge the Malchus of Ishboshet and to make Pirud, so Yoav is going to confront him. Pasuk Gimel. The Yoav ben Struya, as Barbara once told us, Struya is the sister of David HaMelech. So Yoav is the nephew of David HaMelech. They ask, why is he called after the name of his mother, not of his father? The father wasn't as chashuv as the mother.
Undistinguished.
Right? So Yoav ben Struya avdei David yatsu. There's some kind of pool which was empty. Apparently, the archaeologists know where that is. You can see this depression in the ground, and the tour guides will take you there. They're each on either side, the two sort of camps looking at each other. Vayomer Avner el Yoav, Yakumu naha ne'arim, v'yisachaku lefanenu. Yoav, Avner suggests, let's have a wrestling match between our people, ours versus yours. And some hold that it was l'schok mamish, according to some of Forshim, that Avner didn't want to do anything, that they should fight seriously. In fact, Avner was suspicious that Yoav had come to fight, but he figured, well, if we have a wrestling match, it will defer them. It will defer Yoav's mind, because really Avner wanted to save them from real battle. Now, Chazal don't like what Yoav did. It says in Yerushalmi Peah, Avner lama neherag. Avner eventually is going to be killed. Why? Rabbi Shimon Levi Omar, al sha'asa daman shel no'arim schok, that he made light of the blood of the young people. Shenemar yakumu na ne'arim v'yisachaku lefanenu. Says the Gemara, says the Tosefta Sota, Rabbi Shmuel Omer, ein lashon tzchok el shfichus damim. That whenever the Torah uses the word tzchok or schok, it means killing. Shenemar, vayomer Avner el Yoav yakumu na ne'arim v'yisachakeu lefanenu. Vayakumu vayavru b'mispar v'yachzuku ish b'rosh re'eu v'charbo b'tzad re'eu v'yiplu yachdav. So a calamity happened here, and Avner was a tzaddik. Made a mistake here. Says the Musar Navim. It says in Dvarim, Ki seitzei lemilchama al oivecha.
What's he gonna just tell him?
Keneged oivecha tarashai leilachem, v'lo keneged achecha. When the pasuk tells us that when you go out to do battle against your enemy, it teaches us you're allowed to kill somebody if you're fighting an enemy, but you're not allowed to fight against your brothers. Lo Yehuda al Shimon v'lo Shimon al Yehuda. Ulefichach nenash Avner, ma shegoram la'avi lidei melchemes achim. Even this minimal act, it led to a civil war. V'onan levasof ne'amar vayikra Avner el Yoav, vayomer halanetzach toichal cherev. Eventually, Avner is going to try to make peace and say, we're going to just kill each other. Eventually, Avner realized the danger of civil war. He only wanted them to wrestle. Later on, we're going to see someone's going to chase after Avner, and he's going to bend over backwards to try to avoid killing him. So we see Avner was against Shvichus Damim. But in the end, he was punished for this act. The Choymas Sanach says, Avner Ratza Lakacha Zel Siman Ki David Nimshach Lemelech Al Yehuda, V'ish Boshes Al Yisrael. He knows that the Judeans have put David as their king, and Ishbosheth is ruling over Israel. Uvazei Yodeh Lemina Amlucha. Some either Bernie or no, I'm sorry, Ellen asked about the Urim V'Tumim. In a sense, they chose 12 Na'arim from Avner's side and 12 Na'arim from David's side. And the idea was whoever's going to win, that would show whose Malchus is more authoritative, like a trial by fire kind of thing, like used to happen in the Middle Ages. So that's how one Meforish explains this wrestling match. Tesvav. Vayakumu vayavru b'mispar shnei masar levinyamin uli Ishbosheth ben Shol. So 12 from the side of Binyamin who are part of Ishbosheth on one side. Ushnei masar ma'avdei David. Remember, Binyamin is being mentioned because of the inyan of umlochi mechalat tzachayetzehu. That's the whole reason why Avner decided to put Ishbosheth as the king of Binyamin. Ted Zayid. Vayachziku ish b'rosh re'eyu. V'charbo b'tzad re'eyu. They sort of wrestled, and they had swords as well. Vayiplu yachtav, they fell together. Vayikra l'makom chelkat atzurim asher b'givon. This place is called Chelkat Tzurim. Because of their wrestling and the fact that the swords were attached, the people were killed by the sword. And then others started to fight from the two camps. And the Anshe David were able to defeat many from the Avner and the Anshe Yisrael, and they ran away. Avner and the other people with him ran. Vayisham shlosha bnei Tzruya. There were 3 sons of Tzruya: Yoav, Avishai, Va'asael. Yoav had 2 brothers, Asael and Avishai. Va'asael kal braglav. Asael was a fast runner, like the deer in the field. By the way, Yishai had, of course, David, Tzruya, and there was another sister, Abigail. And the son of Abigail was Amasha. And that'll come up later as well. It's another nephew of David through Abigail. Yud Tes. Vayirdof Asael achrei Avner. Asael is now going to chase after Avner. V'lo natala lechet al yamin v'al small machrei Avner. He was like a laser beam. He wanted to kill him. He thought that Avner is a morid b'malchus. And now is the time for David to rule. And Avner is the ma'akev. Avner is preventing that from happening. So Asael is going like a laser beam, like not to the right, not to the left, to kill him. Vayifan Avner achrav. Avner turns. Vayomer, hataze Asael? He recognized him. Are you Asael? Vayomer anochi. Vayomer lo Avner, netelecha al yemincha al smocha. Run away. Like it says by Avraham Avinu, lech lecha. For your benefit, lahana ascha u'letovasecha. So that I won't kill you. Ve'echaz lecha echad ben, even take one of my soldiers to escort you back. V'kach lecha eschal itzaso v'lo avasa el asur machrav. Asel didn't want to hear anything. His intent was to kill Avner. Now, if it's because of COVID that you're embarrassed to turn around, Avner said, then I'm going to give you COVID. I'm going to send you with an escort. Now, Asael is a road dave. Asael is running after Avner to kill him. Is Avner allowed to kill him?
Abar lahargecha.
Right? So we would think,
Self-defense.
you're allowed to, Avner would be allowed to kill.
He also gave him hasra. He warned him. He told him, go to the left, go to the right. He gave him ways out.
Well,
Safe base. He didn't even.
let's talk about Hasra for a minute. In Sanhedrin, Ayin Beis, Amid Beis, Cholkin iroidev tzorach Hasra. That means when a rodef is chasing somebody, do you have to give him Hasra before you kill him? You have to say, listen, stop doing what you're doing, otherwise you're going to get killed. Meaning, what's the machloikes? Mutter lo hargo b'li lo asra? Are you allowed to kill him without asra? And even according to the one that says you don't need asra, maybe he doesn't have to be makabel the asra and say, because normally with asra is like this. You see somebody committing some malach on Shabbos, and you say to him, you know what, this is asr on Shabbos. And if you do this malacha, you have capital punishment in front of Eidim. So normally Basra, the one who's reading Asra has to say, I understand, afal pichein, I'm going to do it. Means Hasra isn't just enough telling the person, there has to be a Kabbalah of the Hasra. So even according to Mandomer that says, by roid, if you don't need Hasra, maybe that means the rodef doesn't have to be makabelit, but maybe you have to tell the rodef that, you know what, the person you're chasing after is a Jew and you can't kill him. So how does the Tur paskin in Choshen Mishpat? He says like this, Aval pisha ein donim atadin ein nefashos. The Tur who lived in the 1400s, there has not been a Beis Din that adjudicated capital punishment for 1500 years when the Tur wrote. So that's why he says, even today, we don't adjudicate din and nefashos. Ba'medvar din and nefashos tzrichim bezdin ve'edim. Aval hane'erogim below bezdin nidonin gamata. But the Tur explains there are situations where you might have to kill somebody, even without bezdin today. Eluheim. Harodef achar chaveru lohargo. Somebody's chasing after somebody to kill him. Shemitzvah kol haroeh otosh rodef shiargenu k'dei latzil nirda. So if you see somebody chasing somebody to kill him, you have a chiyuv to kill the rodef. Afilu hu katan, even if he's a minor. Keitzad isrubo shim yargu yargu. You have to say to him, if you kill, I'm going to kill you. Afilu she'en makabel asra, and even if the guy who's chasing doesn't makabel the asra, kiven shadaidu rodef unera, he's killed. You can kill him. You just have to tell that the rodef, that the person you're chasing is Jewish. Here comes the most important line of the Tur. Vim yecholin lahatzi anirdav be'echad me'ivorei harodef osir lohargo. If you can shoot him in the leg and stop him from carrying out his plan, then you're not allowed to kill him. So the answer to our question is not so simple yet. When we said, was Avner allowed to kill him? The din is, if you can save the person who's being chased by injuring the rodef and not necessarily killing him, that's what you have to do. By the way, the Beis Yosef, who is Rav Yosef Karo, who was the main meforish of the Tur was Rav Yaakov ben Arosh. The Rosh lived in Toledo. He moved there from Germany, became the Gadol Ador and lived in Toledo. Susie and I were zocha to visit Toledo when we visited Spain. And we saw where the Rosh was and where he operated. The son of the Rosh, Rav Yaakov, wrote the Tur, which created the four chalokim, Orach Chaim, Choshen Mishpat, Even Ezer, and Yoredeya. Those subject matter divisions was created by the Tur. And then the Beis Yosef was the commentary, main commentary on the Torah. You're talking about late 1300s, early 1400s. And then when Rav Yosef Karo eventually lived in Tzfat, wrote the Shulchan Aruch, he used the same 4 chalakim, which is what the chalakim we have of Shulchan Aruch. However, the Beis Yosef, in his commentary, says that what is the makor of the Gemara in Sanhedrin? We see a cotton. If a cotton is chasing somebody, you're allowed to kill him, even though he's not a bardas to be makabel. Because it says, Shoifech dam adam, ba'adam damo yishafech. You spill blood, your own blood's going to be spilled. Now, like Bernie said, Efshar de lasro kazek kiven Avner b'dibra lasoil. Maybe the fact that Avner is giving Asoil warning, he's basically giving Asra. However, most Meforshim say that he didn't need to give him Asra. You know when you have to give Asra? If I see somebody else chasing somebody else. But if somebody's chasing you, you don't have to give Asra. You can kill the rodef yourself. So that's enough kamina halacha. The Shuta Rivash brings. That there's a difference in halacha. If you see somebody chasing, then you have to give Asra. But if somebody's chasing you, you can kill without Asra. And therefore, Avner could kill without Asra. Right? Anir devatzmo muter lo laharogas harodef af below Asra. And some say, Yeshloma de lo diber Avner laso mitzad Asra lachit. This is not halachic Asra. He went lifnei mishur sadin, that he didn't want to kill him. And we'll see in the next pasuk, he warns him again.
What possibility?
This is the raya again that really Avner didn't, when he suggested that they have a wrestling match, he really wasn't interested in them killing each other. Because you see how far Avner is trying to go to prevent the death of Asoil.
Would you consider this like a civil war?
Not yet, it's getting there. Let's hold on and see what happens the rest of the perek. Chav Beis. Vayosef od Avner lemor laSael. Sur lecha me'acharai. Go from chasing after me. Lama, why should I strike you dead to the ground? Ve'ech esa ponai el. How will I ever look your brother Yoav into the face again if I have to kill you? So you see, Avner is really going to the bat to try to prevent killing him.
He also, may I just add, he
Yes,
also
Barbara.
said that if he doesn't want to, if he's afraid of losing face by abandoning the pursuit, so he said, pretend that you intend to pursue one of the youths. So he gave him additional.
He gave him outs. He gave him outs for
exactly.
his COVID, right?
Mhm.
Exactly. He gave him outs for his COVID, and he said, "Listen, you weren't really chasing after me, or because maybe he's going to be losing face
Face,
by
right.
going home." So he told him, "No, you weren't necessarily going after me. You were going after one of my other soldiers." But you see, Asal didn't accept any of it.
Mhm.
Vayimayin lasur. He refused to leave. Vayakeu Avner ba'achrei chanit el hachomesh. Avner strike him not with the tip of the spear, but with the back of the spear. But the spears used to be stored in the ground. So even the other side of a spear was a little sharp so that it would go into the ground easily. It wasn't as sharp as the side that had a sharp point, but it was sharp enough that it could kill. Vatetzeh chanit ma'acharav. I guess it went through and through him. Vayapel sham vayamot tachtav, and he died right then and there. Vahi kol habalam hakoma shenafal sham Asael vayamot vayamodu. And whoever would come by this area, they would see Asael dead. It make them stop in their tracks. What is this elachomesh? So Chazal explain at Selah Chamishit Sha'al Alev Shebigiu Sham Yamud. It's like the fifth rib. If you count down the fifth rib, and Chazal say it's also the place of the gallbladder and the liver. So of course, great blood vessels are there. It would be a lethal blow if you were struck there. Now,
Was there any validity to Asael feeling that Avner was interfering with David's accession to the throne?
Avner has chosen Ishboshet because he darshan that pasuk that
Right.
there have to be two kings from Binyamin before David rules. Avner understood that David was going to rule eventually, but there has to be a process. Now, the question we have to deal with is, what if we learned that you don't have to kill a Rodev? Yachol atzilu be'echad mevara. Why didn't Avner strike him in a way that he didn't have to kill him? The only time that if you kill a Rodev, if you're putter from capital punishment, is because if you had no other way to stop him. But if you can stop him, be'echad mevara, you're chayv misa like any other Rodseach. So how come Avner killed Asael? Must
There's
be
another interpretation from the Yonasan ben Uziel say that Avner was aiming for the thigh, that the chomesh means the thigh,
go ahead.
alongside the thigh, and not for the fifth rib overlying
Oh.
the liver.
So that would answer our question that he was trying to hit him in the leg and not trying to kill him. That's how the Yonasan ben Uziel learns. Okay, let's see what the Gemara in Sanhedrin Mem Tes Omad Aleph says. Eventually, I'm going to give us, Yoav is going to kill Avner in the future. And then David HaMelech is going to give Shlomo HaMelech, we lay in Haftar in Parshas Vayechi, sort of a last will and testament. Who do I want you to kill and who do I want you to, benefit? Right? David tells him to kill Doeg, and he tells him, and he has to take care of Yoav, because we'll see David HaMelech was very upset that Yoav killed Avner eventually. So it says in Gemara Sanhedrin, Armer le Shlomo le Yoav, my time a katl seila Avner. Why did you kill Avner? Armer le goel adam dasor lavi. We know the din. If your family member was killed, so if you are a family member, you're allowed to kill that person unless he runs away to an Ir Miklat, where the Goel Adam can't kill him there. So Asael was Yoav's brother. So Yoav Tainis, I was the Goel Adam. So Shlomo says, yeah, but what do you mean? Asael roidefava. But Avner didn't murder him. He was allowed to kill him because Asael was a Rodev. So you had no right as a Goel Adam to kill Avner. Omer lei, hayelo la'Avner lahatzil atatzmo be'echad mevor shel Asael v'lo yargenu. Yoav tained to Shlomo HaMelech that no, I was right in killing him because Avner should have targeted a limb and not kill him. The Hachi Amrinan in Sanhedrin Ayin Daled, Rodef acha chaver lahargo. If someone's chasing after somebody, and you can save yourself by hitting the guy's leg, and you kill the guy, you were killed for that. So Shlomo HaMelech answered, Avner could not aim carefully to be sure that he would strike him in the other Eivar and that he would stop him from being a Roidev. What do you mean, says Yoav? What do you mean he targeted the exact spot? Like we said, either the heart or the liver and the gallbladder. B'makom shemor v'kavit limbo, the place where the liver and the gallbladder are. So be'echad me'varav lo. How can you tell me if he could target him so carefully? How could he target another aver? So, Amr le Nezel Avner. Okay, Shlomo said, "You're potter of the din of Avner." Shlomo Melech accepted that. And that's why Shlomo pottered him on that din, on the death of Avner. Because really Avner should not have been able to kill Asael, because we see he targeted him carefully. He should have been able to target one of the other's limbs. Any comments regarding that issue? By the way, the Musar Nevi'im talks about the fact that Asa was very fast. He figured because of his speed, it would be easy for him to kill Avner. Mashalo also came yeser hanoshin. The other people didn't make the same cheshbon. Lohevin kilo tamidu lakali amrods ki kalusa vilos misaso. What does it say? Not all the races go to the swiftest, right? I mean, that's sort of the concept, that he has to be smart. It's not just about speed. Okay, Pasuk Chavdal. So Ellen, that was talking about a civil war, so now the civil war begins. Yoav and Avishai, the remaining brothers of Asal, are chasing after Avner now. Ve'ashemesh ba, vehema ba ad givas ama, and they came to the Giva, they came to the following Giva, al shabne giach derech midbar Givon. They are now chasing after Avner, b'Torah's goel adam. They had a din to kill Avner as a goel adam. Now, the Rambam said in Hilchos Rotzeach, says the Davka Yorish Hu Agoel Adam. Only if you are an inheritor can you serve as a Goel Adam. Ha'acher, somebody else, Afilu Hu Korov, even if he's a brother, Imenu Yorish Lo Yuchal Yot Goel Adam. V'im Ken Kasha Kan Heich Hayu Yoav Avishai Goel Adam Shel Soil Halo Hayu Yorshav. We'll see. There was a Sol had a son, Zvadia. So the Chazon Ish says, since there are it's not that far off, says the Chazon Ish, that either the son couldn't do it, he was too young, and therefore they have the right to be the Goel Adam. Well, what about can you be a Goel Adam without a psak of Bezdin? For example, Rambam says Rotzeach Shaharag Bezodon. Ein lemisno so edim. So the edim who saw the murder don't kill him. Ad sheyavu lebestin v'yadanu lemiso. That a Goel Adam doesn't have a right to just go out and kill somebody. You got to bring it to Bezdin. Ein a Goel Adam rishai laharag Rotzeach ad lachar shekam lebezdin sadin. So how could they serve as the Goel Adam? So the Rambam ends up saying that, and the Ravid argues with that. But anyways, it remains a little bit of a kasha why they ended up chasing after him. Not just that, the Bnei Binyamin are going to come to help Avner. Vayiyula aguda echad, and become like one unit. Vayamdu al rosh kiva echad. So the Bnei Binyamin come to Avner's rescue. Vayikra Avner Yoav. So Avner sees what's about to happen. As Ellen said, we're coming to civil war. Vayomer halanetzach toichal cherev. Is the sword going to consume forever? Halo yadata ki maratia bachron. It's only going to be bitter in the end. Ve'ad matai lo tomar la'am lashuv machreachehem. When are we going to say to the people, go back and avoid war? If, for example, you now kill me in revenge for our soil, so my Goel Adams, my relatives are going to come and kill you, and there'll be no end to the bloodshed. Then he said, what's the reason for milchama? It's for victory, but we are brothers, and in the end, we have to be victorious together. And he was giving a remez that he knew that David HaMelech in the end is going to rule. Vayomer Yoav, Chai Elohim ki lulei dibarta, ki az me'aboker nala am ish machrachi. If you would have said these words before, when we all were gathering, before the wrestling match, then we would have separated, we wouldn't have had any battle. But he recognized the truth of Avner's words, and he went along. Vayitka Yoav b'shofar, vayamdu kol ha'am. He blew shofar and everybody stopped. V'lo yirdefu od achrei Yisrael v'lo yasfu od l'lachem. And as the potential civil war comes to an end, so far. He was mevater on his kovid, and he listened to Avner's pleadings that there shouldn't be blood spilled. Chavtes, Vavner v'nashav alchu ba'aravak kol halayla hu. Finally, vayavru et Yarden v'alchu kol habitron ve'umachanaim. They go back to where they started from Machanoim. V'yoav shav ma'achrei David Avner v'yikbotz et kol ha'am v'yifkadum avdei David tishasar ish v'asael. They had lost 19 people, including Asael. And there's a chazal that, what do you mean 19 plus, right? V'alo Asael b'chlal avdei David. V'lama yotza? Magina kosuv shaya kasha keneged kulam. The death of Asael was bad as if all of them had been killed, because he was a special person. V'yavdei David hikum ibinyamin of anshe Avner 360 ish mesu. In this battle, the Avdei David slew 360 men.
Ernie, this would imply that there was other battle besides those who were opposed to each other across the
Yeah, because it
waterway.
says
It was 12 and 12. There must have been
No.
other battles going on.
it was, because it says they fought after them, and Vayinogev, right? The pasuk says Vayinogev, that they lost the battle. Where was it here?
So who got killed?
It says Vatiyam milchama kasha pasuk Yud Zayin. Vatiyam milchama kasha noad bayom hahu. Vayinagef Avner v'anshei Yisrael lifnei Avdei David. So there were casualties. Besides the wounded, Vayisut Asael vayigru b'kever aviv asher Beit Lachem. They took Asael to Beit Lechem, right where the family of Yishai is from. Now, we're seeing the beginnings of what's going to happen, because it's not going to end well. This split between David and Hebron and Ishbosheth. And in Perek Gimel, we're going to see the enlargement of the civil war. There was a civil war. And we will see its course and how David eventually comes to rule over Klal Yisrael. Any comments, ha'aros, any other things that anybody would like to add to what we've said and analyzed tonight? Different sugyas, Rodef, and Goel Adam, and
Is
etc.
blamed for sort of setting in motion how he was going to handle that situation with the two camps?
Yes, we read the Chazal that it's viewed for Avner as a chet, and that's one of the reasons why he was killed later on. because he made light of the blood of the young, because he said, let's have sport. Let the young fight. And it's that attitude, cavalier attitude towards death, that was considered a chet on the level of Avner. Avner was a great tzaddik, but on his level, it's considered a deficiency.
So he started this.
Okay. So next week, God willing, we'll resume the Navi Shir Sunday night at 8:00, like we used to have that time.
Okey doke.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Uh,
Everyone